You did this to yourself.
I just was trying to evoke a thought.
So did I.
So did he. It worked. Oh goodness. But it truly is. As much as we probably would hate to say it.
Man.
It truly is.
I'm not disagreeing, but that's a strong statement that can be looked at so many different ways.
And the fact
That music means one thing. Time to bridge. Bridging civil tension right here, 21.6 the net. Bridging civil tension. Where we feel it's better to build a bridge than to blow one up. And of course, a lot of people have jumped off of this bridge over the last couple of episodes. But we're here to just continue to stretch the mind and think of some things. Of course, we always are looking for great content for this show. And guess what? A book was suggested back in 2021 that we take a look at from one of our listeners. And we said we would, because that's what we want to be able to have good conversations and dig into. The book is a book. It's called Woke Racism. And it's by John McWhorter, right? WHORTER, and how a new religion has betrayed Black America.
Right.
How a new religion has betrayed Black America. And, first of all, we've got some exciting things to really talk about. We had a great conversation with Dr. Joel Freeman.
Great conversation about
the co-author of
Black History 360. Black History
365.
VH
365. Very, very, it was wonderful, enlightening.
Cool as a fan, man. Just
Unbelievable, truly. And I'm very excited. And he graced us with that ebook. So I can't wait to bust into that. And it's just a cool concept,
right?
Interactiveness, QR codes.
That's genius.
The gray elephant idea. It's just brilliant.
Takes little segues to talk about certain topics and get a chance to look at it. Okay, now let's look at it 360 from this perspective or this perspective. Do you still feel the same way on this topic? It was amazing to watch, and it just
they built this textbook so that it couldn't be gathered up from either far side to use as ammunition.
Right.
It's brilliant.
Right.
And I can't wait to jump in. And I think it'll raise a lot of eyebrows. That was my raise a lot of eyebrows.
I can't do the eyebrow thing. I wish I could do the people's and be the eyebrow. I'm more of the pebble. I can't do that.
But Woke Racism is a book, and let's talk about the author real quick, right? Okay. So the author is he works at Columbia University as a linguist. And he, in this book, he attempts to answer woke racism, which seeks to both explain and rebut, I think that's how you say that, this ideology, right? Right. The interesting thing is he is also African American, the author.
Yeah.
And so don't think it's some crazy white guy like Kent that's out there,
saying horrible. Well, opinionated things. I'll say it that way.
And I did a little research on the author too. He actually sits on the board of advisors of a foundation against intolerance and racism at Columbia University. All right. Now I bring that up if you didn't. I bring that up if you didn't know it.
No, like I think he mentioned something
Yeah.
about being on the board and things like that he does I think it was to give his blackness more credibility and to try to combat what he knows will be the feedback that he's going to receive writing the things that he said in that book.
Yeah, and he also published an article back in 2000 titled "Losing the Race: Self-Sabotage in Black America." So he would be a D in front of his name,
right?
And fights against everything. I mean, literally, you would think this is a crazy far right guy,
right?
Who wrote this, and it's just it's wildly bizarre to me. And to be honest, and I will say this, I got through as much of it as I could. I couldn't finish it. I would just.
I did.
Yeah.
I completed the book confused.
Yeah.
He had, to give credit, he had a segment where he did list 3 solutions. Yeah. And then I thought that was, I thought that was neat and, cool. I just didn't personally appreciate, and this is not a knock on him, I didn't personally appreciate that it seemed to only be directed at one side and never give the side by side. Never offer the solution as you're going to just try to belittle this statement. Okay, well, how would you handle this?
Yeah.
I'm just going to say, this is trash. This person's terrible. This solution is just hogwash. And then I'm not going to offer anything side by side. And I feel like it left a lot of gaps in that approach.
Yeah. So in this book, he says and suggests, I guess, this ideology of racism, right, has been elevated into a religion.
Right. So before we get into this, I'm going to say this. Anything that I say on today's show is not directed at any person, the person who suggested the book in any way.
Right.
If I do seem frustrated, more so it comes from a place of the thought, the belief system, the approach, and because our show is about, if my belief is different than your belief, let's sit and understand each other's belief. Even if I'm not converted or vice versa, I can at least seek to understand you.
Seek first to understand.
Seek first to understand. Good book. So when a book says this isn't to get understanding, this isn't to look to understand them. This is so we're guarded and we're prepared to defend ourselves against being contaminated by their religion. I just don't think this show is the place for that type of suggestion.
Right. And I wrote that down. So I'll quote it. And this isn't a book review.
Right.
This is just two guys and absolutely would love the author to come on with us. Absolutely open to that or have a conversation with it. I would love to it's a punch in your face type of a book.
Right. And like you said, it's not a book review, but I've seen the copy and paste of part of this book in the comment section, like it is personal belief.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of alarming when I see a person who says, say this to show that we're not trying to get understanding for that group, that we're not trying to hear this group, and that we are the only ones who know truth and nothing they tell you is going to be good. And then I see those types of phrases being posted in the comment section. That tells me you regurgitated a closed-minded individual. So if you're going to repeat and perpetuate a closed mind, that means you have one too. And again, like I said, this platform just isn't the place for that.
It's tough, right?
Right.
So, and I wrote down some stuff. Quote, I do not mean that these people's ideology is, quote, like a religion. I seek no rhetorical snap in this comparison.
Right.
I mean that it actually is a religion. An anthropologist would see no difference in type between Pentecostalism and this new form of anti-racism.
Yeah. He says that we're looking to burn witches and that our approach is similar to the church lady from Saturday Night Live. And like we're removing Satan.
Yeah.
So I'm a religion that you should be atheist about. If I tell you, hey, I was followed in a store, that's me trying to get you to buy into my religion. And by doing so, I'm in likeness to the church lady hunting to remove Satan. I would think that most people would want racism and hatred removed from our country.
Yeah.
But you're going to tell people that it's wrong to have that belief or wrong to have that stance.
Yeah.
And Jim Carrey, Dumb and Dumber, if anyone tries to talk to you about like, nah, where people are still getting followed and pulled over for no reason.
So listen, if you didn't read the book, feel free. If we tickle, if we tickle a funny bone, feel free to comment, put some thoughts in there, because that's what it's about. Now, understanding this book too, what I got through is he did praise earlier generations of civil rights movement, but he objects to what he calls the quote unquote third wave anti-racism.
Mm-hmm.
Which preaches that racism is baked into the structure of society. Whites' complicity in living within it constitutes racism itself, while for Black people, grappling with the racism surrounding them is the totality of experience and must condition exquisite sensitivity toward them, including a suspension of standards of achievement and conduct. So in other words, what he's saying is, we as a society are just, hey, you got your African American token. You're Black, good, okay, we'll hire you. Hey, you know what? We here we go. Achievements, conducts, not because of what you've done, but because of the color of your skin. And what he is saying in this book is no. It's not the battle. We're handing everything over now in this third wave of anti-racism, and everybody's laying down saying, "No, hey,
if you're Black, go for it."
Yeah.
Just some of the phrasing he said. Like, there's one part where he said, if you were to say, okay, Phil, why do you feel certain this way, towards police officers or unsafe, or why do you feel unsafe in these neighborhoods, or why, that if I begin to tell you my side, what you should do is you should bop me on the nose if I explain my experience, because I'm nothing more than a bloodthirsty shark. So when I hear that, how does that lead to healthy dialogue? How does that lead to a bridge being built? Like, if this is the book that we need to read for building bridge, and anyone in my position who wants to build a bridge should read this book that says, don't even listen to the person's side because they're nothing more than a bloodthirsty shark. I'm just curious of where that bridge is going.
So what happens is, as a white guy, I go, see, Black author, he gets it. Why don't you, Phil?
Man.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I'm not crazy. Your own people are writing this book.
People. And like we've said, it could be millions of people with a different story. And they're wrong. But if one person says it, then they have to be right. And it to me, okay, I'm just going to say it. To me, then it seems like, whether it's a doctor from last week or anyone in between, that you're only an intelligent person if you echo white thought. Because a doctor who come on the show say great things. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's being the victim. Someone else come on the show, say great things. We've had a number of guests on our show say great things. But it's not until that a Candace or this guy echoes white thought, then all of a sudden these are the smart ones. Like you said, they get it. Why can't you? Oh my God, the things that she says is just revelation. And if you guys would just listen to her, or just hear this book, this is how bridges are built. By telling me that I'm not sunlight, I'm fungus.
Yeah.
That you should put these people in their place.
Mm-hmm.
Please tell me how telling 50-year-old white people that live in a bubble that when I sit down at the table to have healthy dialogue, the initiative should be to put these people in their place, is ever going to lead to a solution. Because that's the advice that's given in this book. I get it, and we've talked about it. If I become the sword for the Republican Party, or if I become the shield for racism, then cool. you're trying to get money. I understand that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, please be responsible for what you're doing, because other people are using this as good information, and they're approaching conversations where people are trying to have healthy dialogue.
Yeah.
With let me not buy into this religion,
Mhm.
and let me educate this black person on the black experience.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's going to go well.
And of course, hey Don, good morning. Don says, if anyone says don't listen to the other person as they are a bloodthirsty shark, you cannot have a rational conversation. Personally, I would love more non-attacking dialogue based on as much fact as we can. Name calling is a waste of time. Yeah, that's true. And in this book, the author says he refers to the leaders or people who are out in front as prophets of the third wave.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because he's rolling down this ideology of religion, and he refers to them as quote unquote the elect in this book. So you'll hear that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And he says the elect see themselves as quote unquote bearers of good news, that if all people would simply open up and see it, would create a perfect world. And that is taking what's happening, and I think the people who are in the grinds right now, that's a rainbow situation and a pot of gold.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that if we were to change and racism would go away, would simply create a perfect world. I think the attack that I have seen from people who want to end racism or bridge that gap are more saying, let's first learn from history,
Right,
and then let's take a look at today and not let history happen again.
right.
Okay, and so when he said that, he's like, oh, he referred to them as prophets or the elect, and it would create a perfect world. I don't think that's it. I don't think we know that
Right.
anytime that there's people involved, you're going to have people hitting heads and doing things. Morning, Shayna. Shayna says, so neither of you have read the book in its completion. It's almost like you are enjoying taking things out of context with the added sarcasm. Weird.
I actually started the show off saying that I did read the book in its completion, and truth be told, I listened to it 3 times just to clarify.
Right. So I didn't read through it. Like I said, it was a, and I didn't finish because I didn't necessarily agree with everything in it.
Mm-hmm.
And probably when he first called it a religion, that probably put up some blocks in my mind.
Right.
Just because of the way I was raised, I think, Shayna, and not that's what I'm saying is. And so what I've tried to do is pull out some excerpts from the book,
right,
on what he says. Now, again, he's a brilliant man. He sits on an anti-racism board of directors for Columbia University.
Right.
It's not like he's trying to stir the pot. He's saying, hey, people are starting to follow this anti-racism like it's a religion, and
right,
don't buy into the religion.
Right.
Yeah.
He says that we are genuinely in the invasion of the body snatchers territory. And I just feel like that doesn't set a tone for an open mind for dialogue. If you think that I'm trying to snatch your body, if you hear what things is like and what solutions we can come to, I don't think that we're going to sit at that same table looking for solutions. I think you're going to be on guard versus having an open heart, hearing another person's experience. But he does say that it was a bizarre exercise in mind control created by someone bent on manipulation and getting paid. We talked about that. You're pointing it out for someone else. But in this situation, I feel like you know what you're writing.
Mm-hmm.
As a writer, I feel like you have to know what you're writing. I feel like man, this is going to be the share button for anyone who thinks like this. That's beneficial. We bought 2 copies.
Right.
That benefited him.
Right.
But you have very dangerous verbiage, and this is not an attack. This is not being sarcastic. This is just dissecting dissecting the verbiage used in the book that was suggested, and simply showing how this type of dialogue doesn't lead to a bridge. There's no sarcasm in it. I'm doing what I was told to do. I was told to read this book to get an understanding. And based off what I understand after reading the book 3 times, we like certain points. When he talks about the 3 solutions, great. But 99% of the book, every 30 seconds for myself, I wrote down another note. This dude was saying that all seem to be derogatory towards one side of people. That's not on me. That's the author that chose to use that verbiage, an intelligent individual who has a wide range of words to pull from, said that black people are similar to Adolf Hitler in the book that I was suggested to read about building bridges.
So Don says we all fail if the goal is zero racism, as people are fallible, and there simply is hate in the world. Don't like saying that a bit, but it is reality. Yes. Right. Can we talk about the ideas in the book and discuss? Yeah. That's what we're trying to. Yeah, Don. That's the goal for Phil. Do you believe some folks are in the woke game to make money?
Yeah, I mean, look at the book we're reading. Right? The book is called Woke Racism. It's a book to be sold to make money. I feel more so than to actually build a bridge, because like it and this is not at all. And I don't know if you read the book, but like if you read the book, and I'm really trying to have this conversation neutral. As I'm reading the book, I didn't see where it was. This is where this could improve. Yeah, step it up here. But this is happening at an alarming rate. It was these people suck, these people suck, these people suck. These people have, literally, I cannot make this up. These people have larvae in their brains that makes them act like animals. It was compared to grasshoppers who jump into water to drown themselves. That's black people, according to this author. And people are hitting the share button like this is good information. And I feel like he knows what he's doing. So he's making money. So he's in the woke business to make money, but he's not trying to, like, he starts the book off with, this is not to understand them. This is not to hear them. This is so we're prepared and guarded and have a shield to prevent ourselves from ever hearing anything from their religion. That learning about black education makes Marxism look like the ABCs. I don't think that having that thought process is going to help anybody.
Right, and I mean in the book too. I mean there are good points. Okay, and points that I mean he brings up which was interesting. The elect, right? And he brings up a story of David Shore.
Okay.
If you remember that. It's a young white progressive analyst who was fired from his consulting firm for tweeting a study showing how violent protests can backfire. Many of the inquisitions have been led not by people from minority groups, but from the white, quote unquote, elect themselves, who are described as carrying a sort of self-flagellational guilt for things they did not do. And that's some of the frustration, I think, that we've seen with white guilt and things of that nature. And so, that guy, hey, it was a study, and so many people are on edge now. And that's what he's saying is, whoa. Right. Why did this guy get fired just by putting up? It wasn't his study. He just shared a study, on how non-peaceful protests, right? The riots can backfire on a movement, right?
Right. I think that's where he said the tweet had to come from someone who's mentally unwell, because this person called him out for his comment that was not at the time appropriate. So if you watch him through the book, when he talks about how people shared racist things, it's always inappropriate or untimely, slightly inappropriate, but it's never like, nah, he shouldn't have said that. She shouldn't have said that when he's talking about the reporter. He then says, think of them, black people, like communists. And I'm reading this book trying to figure out how this is building a bridge. They are mentally ill, and you can tell who is by their call to dismantle our white supremacy culture. They seek to create a new America in their religion. Again, I think he's putting his book puts dialogue and healthy conversation on a dangerous like it makes it so it's not set up for success. It makes it so that me and you come to the table, you've heard all this information of that I'm a communist, that I'm Hitler, that I'm mentally ill, that I'm looking to create a new America, just for telling you my experience so that hopefully you would understand where I'm coming from on certain topics. I'm just not seeing where this dialogue, this is not sarcastic. I'm just not seeing where this dialogue is creating a bridge. And Don, to go what you said that you would move on if you're using that type of, we're going to, but we were suggested, and I was specifically told that if I want to have a show about building a bridge, this was the lane to go through. So I just want to show I did my part. I told people on the air I would read the book. I read the book 3 times. I'm just discussing what was shared, just so that, again, not to bash the author, like I started the show off with, not to bash the person who shared that this was the book to read. It's just I want people who may be holding on to this belief to see how these beliefs are received, and look to find solutions or alternatives to this type of phraseology or phrasing. So that if Don, if your belief is different than mine, and we want to have a conversation, you're not thinking that I'm a grasshopper with a larva in my head that's going to make me jump in the water, that you look at me like a man, like I look at you like a man. We can sit down at the table and have a good conversation.
Yeah. Right. I mean, the book did what it's designed to do, and that's get a reaction.
Right.
Right. Whether you agree with everything that's in the book or you don't know. I don't agree with everything that I read. And like I said, I didn't finish it because when he said, it's a new religion, I had a hard time opening my mind to that. Okay. But there are things in there. He talks about if he says that humans seek pride where they can get it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And to be a black elect, so to be one of the prophets, one of the people out in front, to have a sense of belonging, it allows African Americans to adopt an identity as a beleaguered black person where you are united with all black people, regardless of social class or educational level, by the common experience of suffering discrimination.
Right.
And what he's saying is a lot of the black elect haven't really suffered a lot of discrimination, perhaps. Right. But he wants to, he wants to lump them in there, is the way that I took that. I want to adopt that identity, that as a beleaguered black person, I'm with all the other black people, regardless of social class or education. So, hey, even though I never felt.
Yeah. He says, the people like that are no further developed in their maturity than little kids hiding in their forts for comfort.
Yeah.
And I remember when I read that part, what part of sharing painful experiences is comfortable? Like if you were to ask any woman, hey, you were raped at this time, or a kid, you were molested at this time, what happened? What part of that is comfortable? I don't see how a person would talk about how they were followed, told to lay on the ground, guns pulled, it's racial slurs carved under the. I don't see how that would be comfortable. It's. I don't feel like that's the cool kids club. No one's gonna give Boy Scout stars. Okay, for this is when I had a gun pulled on me. This badge is when I was called the N-word. This one was when they did. Like, we don't do that. So it's not comfortable. It's just, unless I share what has happened, people won't believe it. When I worked for the roofing company, and my boss is like, man, like, you act nervous to go in these places. And then when I had to call him and like, hey, he's like, you good? Nah, the police have my car. And they told me that I could not come back into Island Lake until 8 o'clock to get my vehicle again. And when he had to pick me up from after doing so, that's when he was like, okay, I get it now. Because this hasn't happened to any of my other roofers.
Right.
I was like, this is what I'm talking. I didn't know this was still happening, but we have to share that dialogue where they have to see that experience. But I'm not trying to have them in the cool club, and I'm not trying to have them join the church either.
Right. And at the same time, right, in this book, he talks about the elect, right? Why, if a white man takes a life of a black man, it's going to be national news. But if a black man takes a life of a black man, it's not spoken of. It doesn't make headlines. It doesn't make news. And he brings this up and he says, welcome to the world of the elect, trying to create the only story they want us to tell is one where whites are the villains and minorities are the victims. Honest discussion of why homicide is the leading cause of death for a young black man is off limits.
Right. And in that conversation, to address that point, I'm always surprised when people talk about, like, hypothetically the percentage of black on black crime, because they don't understand that it's only a 5% difference on white crime. So if it's so dangerous over here and it's only a 5% difference over there, and we're only 13%, then this dangerous number is only a fraction of what's being done over here. Why aren't we just as cautious over here? If mine is 92 and yours is 87% for white on white, you should be just as cautious when you go to Panera Bread as I am when I go to Chicago. But you feel fine.
Right.
Even though numbers wise, it would say that you're killing more
Right.
Chads and I'm killing more Marcuses.
Right.
My other thing with that is it doesn't maybe hit the headlines as much, the black on black crime, because it doesn't necessarily have to, because it's on every radio station, every television program. When you think about violence and you listen to anything that's going towards violence, you know who you see on the screen and you know who you don't. So it's programmed for you to know who's violent. So we
Unless
don't
you're
have
watching Cops.
old school
White
cops. So if as long as the message is getting out there, crime is in the hood, 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 crime is in the hood. We're so busy focused on crime in the hood that we don't focus on pedophilia in the suburbs.
Yeah. Don says, too much we focus on the craziness of folks on the other side of the issue. We can find crazies on both sides. I try to avoid them. No, you didn't, because you tuned in here to 21 wishing there were not sides. Yeah, I mean that would be awesome. Phil, I've been in some white areas that scared me to death. No, that's true.
Florida.
That's true. I did read several book reviews as well, because I didn't finish
Right.
the whole book, and I think maybe what he's trying to say is that a religion that seeks to defeat white supremacy by insisting that non-white people cannot be expected to uphold the same standards of conduct and ethics as white people isn't one worth believing in.
What do you mean?
That was in a New York Times review of the book. So this author who did it, Zaid Jelani, said, unlike McWhorter, who is a staunch atheist, I believe that religion is a force for good in the world. It was Malcolm X's pilgrimage to Mecca, after all, that finally opened his eyes to the reality that not all whites are wicked.
Right.
A firm belief that all humans carry souls bestowed by God precludes prejudging them through such corporal categories as race. But I agree with McWhorter that a religion that seeks to defeat white supremacy by insisting that non-white people cannot be expected to uphold the same standards of conduct and ethics as white people isn't one worth believing in. So he's saying that through this book, he's saying the anti-racism religion is insisting that non-white people cannot be expected to uphold the same standards of conduct and ethics as white people.
Is that what you took from this book?
I didn't pull that one specifically that I'm unable
Mhm.
to act the same ethics. I think that it's probably assumed that I couldn't,
Right.
just by stereotypes and things of that nature, and how we're just prone to violence, as he talks about. But I don't see how we're less likely to be able to uphold the standards of society.
Right. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. This woke racism is this new religion is telling non-white people that you cannot be expected to uphold the same standards of conduct and ethics as white people. But says that's not one worth believing.
That's what Don was talking about. The people far on both sides.
Right.
And Don, I'm wishing that there weren't sides. And we've talked about this, that there's only one nation and we're all one people. And I said, well, we are until the cops show up. And then I was, told not to say that. But then, the same people who say we are one nation will suggest for me to read a book that says us versus them, how it starts off, that we're not trying to learn from them, that we know more than them, and we're not trying to hear from them and everything they're doing over there for them is terrible. And it would be catastrophic and lead to chaos was another part. Lead to catastrophic chaos if Kent ever sat down and listened to what Phil had to say about the Black experience, somehow, and me and you, Don, if we had this conversation, it's going to lead to catastrophic chaos.
Oh, you can't. He's down a grapevine. Your family's down a grapevine.
You're down a grapevine?
Yeah.
Nice. I'm off Glade. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's down a grapevine. So yeah, I'm not trying. I'm not, and Shayna, absolutely love and adore you and appreciate your thoughts because they're brilliant. This book, a lot of people don't read the Bible because they don't agree with what the Bible says. I've had conversations with people say, "Hey, the Bible is the best fictional book in the world."
Right.
Okay. And that's hard for me, right? Because I don't believe that. So, I've read Green Eggs and Ham a ton because I love the book, right? And we've had a year and a half ago or whatever discussion about our good friend Dr. Seuss, but I didn't throw all my books away or burn them because I enjoy the book. Doesn't mean that I am a racist, right? Well, you supported it. He's dead, I think. Whatever. They're still great books, and it's a great sales book. If you're a sales coach, you can use Green Book. The guy never gives up, right?
Right.
So why didn't I finish the book? Because I found myself getting angry, right? That's the same reason I got off. That's the same reason I got off of Facebook, because I found myself going on there getting angry with all the idiots, but because of how Facebook works to keep people mad at each other.
Right.
And then I got rid of it. You know how peaceful my life was, right?
Right.
It is this book is, I mean, he's a linguist. It's brilliantly written, and there's words in there I had to look up.
Right.
I mean, because that's where I'm at, right? But at the same time, in my mind was going, did he write this book to make money right at this time? Because it's a hot topic. But then again, doing some research on the author, he's been rocking the boat for a long time. He had that article back in 2000, and back in 2000, that that was really edgy at that point. So I think, when I say that article, let me find my notes again and I'll tell you which one it was in case anybody wants to go and look it up.
I will address something though.
Yeah.
So we were accused of being sarcastic.
Yep.
And I feel that we have had a calm, monotone-ish delivery, less animated than most of our shows. And if we're sarcastic, how do you think the book comes across? Like if you read the book, but if you listen to the audiobook and you hear him talk and you hear his tone and you hear how he's condescending, how you see, like there's a part where he's talking about the riots and he talks about how bad the riots were, right? Yeah. And he said, the blacks are centering. And he's talking about their popular terms to make sure to clarify, like a center, like to calm myself down, basically. I'm trying to center myself and not riot, right? And he says, which a lot of people understand is wrong, the looting. He said, but now he's making fun of people taking the time to rechannel their energy in a positive way to avoid looting, rioting, or violent acts. It seems that, again, no matter what the elects choose to do or how they respond, the message is you are wrong. So if I loot, I'm wrong. If I center myself, you'll make fun of me. You'll be sarcastic. You'll be condescending and belittling.
Yeah.
And I'm not seeing where he's saying, well, this is where people do try to, a popular term in the millennials is centering, things they're trying to do as far as positive outlets to not loot. If you see a person doing so, don't push them. Right. They're trying to have positive outlets to avoid looting or rioting or anything like that. I don't think that sarcasm and a condescending tone about people trying to do a positive, healthy outlet versus looting is the approach to go if you're really trying to build a bridge. He also, I feel like he puts words in people's mouths where he says, who killed Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice? Whites are the devils. Well, you didn't, like, no one said that whites are the devils other than in Ace Ventura.
Right.
Right. But how do you take someone murdered a little black kid, someone murdered another little black kid, and versus having a conversation about which shouldn't have happened because these were kids and this person had followed this person, this was a kid at a playground. Talk about this side if you want to, but also talk about this side. Sure. You just go to, I'm gonna make a vague statement and then whites are the devils. If I'm a white person reading this book, then I'm like, see, I don't need to listen to them because they think I'm the devil. Right. Once again, I don't think that that's going to set up healthy dialogue whenever we come to have a sit down. If you think that I think that you're the devil.
True. Shayna says, Muslims would think differently about the Bible. They might feel angry because they think you are an idiot. That's religion. Help me understand. I'm not following that thought. Help me understand what you're saying there.
I don't necessarily know. Like for instance, the Muslims that I'm cool with, and I have a cousin, my uncle, my mom's twin, so and we have conversations. I don't know if you remember Riley, the white kid with the curly hair, and we have conversations to understand his religion. Yeah, my friend Corey Evans, who I played basketball, he was Mormon. We would have conversations to understand religion. Yeah, I wouldn't just tell Corey, well, because your religion is this, you're just polygamous, wilding out in Utah, or tell my cousin that we grew up together, but now you're a terrorist or wild or whatever because you're this. You have conversations with people who do have other religions if you want to understand just where they're basing their faith in. You don't just say because your religion is different than my religion, I know right, you don't know anything, you're just wrong. I'm looking to see if there's common ground. I'm looking to see the beauty in that culture. I'm looking to learn things that I don't know to not assume. But I feel like if you hear, well, this religion, my coastal coach, he took us to a Lutheran church, he took us to a Catholic church, he took us to, so we can see this is how these things happen. But just to say, I'm going to shut you down mentally because your religion is different than mine, your belief is different than mine, again, does not lead to healthy dialogue, not in the least.
Yeah. So she says, if you found in the doctrine, maybe in one specific religion course, all of the religions are going to look somewhat ridiculous in your opinion. I think all religions are ridiculous. There you go. There you are. And I mean, understand that. I do. And I'm an ordained, and I'm ordained, right? I went to school,
right?
Is for that, right? But I will tell you, I think all religions are ridiculous. Now, to that point, on the Muslim side of things, I also have a copy of the Torah. I've read the Quran. I've read the Torah. Because I want to know the Jewish side of things. I want to know the Muslim side of things because I can't have a good conversation with my Muslim friends if I don't understand where they're coming from. Right. Right. So I seek first to understand. Right. And the interesting thing is, with the Torah, with the Quran, if you read the Quran, they talk more about Mary and Jesus probably more than the quote unquote Bible does, right? So I always say religion is man-made. So I say all religions are a bunch of hockey puck, right? If you have a relationship with the Creator, if you love God and have God in your heart, right, then hallelujah. I'm a Christian, right? So I follow Christ and I try to live to that standard.
Right.
So what I say is I think that all religions are right. I can be a Christian, I can be a follower of Christ,
Right.
but I don't have to be a Mormon or a Catholic or a this, that, or the third.
Yeah.
Right. Hey,
But what
Sal, how are you?
I love about your open-mindedness to look at those religions, like he said, that Black people are mentally and spiritually deficient children.
Right. So, and this is a good question that Shayna brings up.
Okay.
Is the conversation to convert? Is this book written to? Is this book that we read, Woke Racism, to convert, or is it to say, here's this?
Well,
Now I found my notes that in the year 2000, Dr. McWhorter wrote, published "Losing the Race: Self-Sabotage in Black America." Went back and read that, where he argued that counterproductive cultural beliefs and practices, not racial prejudice,
right.
were the main forces for preventing more African Americans from succeeding. So some of his targets in that book were left-wing academics, where he said that left-wing academics is helping transform victimhood from a problem to be solved into an identity in itself. So he's been sticking to his ideology for a long time. That at that point was probably
I don't know. It was said that we're taking things out of context, but a person says there's no compromising with the wicked people and their ritualistic banter.
Well, now let me take, we've got a few minutes here, and let me take the side of the doctor. He is, my daughter got her master's at a university downtown Chicago, which she had to take a class on white guilt. Right. And I think this is a little bit about what he's saying. It's a religion. Hey, man, when we came to America, one nation under God, you're going to love and be a Judeo-Christian. And we still will get people who aren't Judeo-Christians holding up the forefathers saying, hey, yeah, now it's starting to get forced in there. So I, again, as we talked about last week, I again had to say, listen to my kids, you can't be guilty because you're white, because you didn't make your color. You were like, well, I'm going to come out. Could I be a slightly orange color so I can be president at one time? Right? No, you didn't say that. Right? It's what happened. Right? So you can't be guilty for, hey, here's the deal. My grandfather came over in the early 1920s to Ellis Island.
Right.
So my heritage, hey, we didn't own slaves, right? I shouldn't feel guilty about this because I'm third generation here.
Right. But then I feel there's a hint of a double standard because no, Kent, you are not responsible for slavery. Boom. I'm not responsible for crime in Chicago.
Correct.
However,
nor necessarily crime in the suburbs.
However, I'd be told that it's justified to follow me because of crime in Chicago or Detroit or Miami or whatever. And I think that whole association and doing things that if we're not going to like this, then we can't do this either.
Correct. I mean, here in northern Illinois, most of the illegal drug action is run by pretty rich white kids. Yet, guess what? Guess who I'm gonna pull over and search the car. Right?
Which is why I've said this number.
Right.
We'll search Westinghouse before we search Woodstock. Right. However, if we ever search Woodstock like we search Westinghouse,
I know exactly the parking lot you can go sit there. Jessica, good morning. I love today's show. You approach and the energy today, your approach and energy today is so effective. Great job, guys, breaking this down in a calm and mature manner.
Right.
Well, calm. I would go mature. And Doc says, might not be good radio, but I would rather discuss specific topics, challenges, over pointing out the crazy comments of people, whether calling whites or blacks names. To which then he responds and says, might not be good. Oh, he already said that. So he said it twice. he stuttered. You would be surprised what you would find in what's. No, you wouldn't.
It's
Trust
not
me.
a surprise. We know. We know.
So here's the deal, and here's what I love, and I will thank Shayna because she said, "Hey guys, read this book," right? I will thank her for that because it does help, and by us reading this book and being able to have that open dialogue, is great. We don't have to agree with what the book says, and that's why I started out by saying I didn't finish it. Right, because I found myself kind of getting riled up a little bit, but there were points that of what I did read. I go, it's a good point, right? So the idea is, had we never read this, Shayna, we could never have a conversation and understand what you've read, right? Absolutely, with all my heart, love her and thank her for allowing us the opportunity to do this, because it allows us to see the other side of the coin, perhaps, if I can say that, right?
Right.
And the interesting thing, what I found interesting the most is I didn't do any research on the back end of it, and I was shocked to find out that he's African American himself.
Yeah.
I was shocked to find out that he doesn't lean more towards the right, like this book would suggest. And he's done a lot of good things, and it's interesting to me when I did then go in and say, okay, let me learn a little bit about this guy. Was he just for a money grab? Did Columbia College fire this guy for writing this? But no, I mean, it was very interesting.
Yeah.
It was good to find out. So, yeah, absolutely. You're laughing. You must have a comment or something.
Just as I'm reading, because I got all these notes from just playing the book, and he was talking about black kids peddling their candy, and just in his tone and sarcasm and just his negative energy every time he talked about black people, it was like a peddling thing. And I was like, I'm pretty sure candy gets sold by white kids too. Last time I bought some Thin Mints, LaQuanda didn't sell them to me. Lindsay did. So Don, you said it may not be good radio. Earlier in the show, we were told that we were taking a line or two out of context. It's not a line or two. No, it's the entire book saying stuff like this. And like I said, we just wanted to address things that were said into this.
Where we came from, what we took from.
Yeah, what we took from the book that was suggested for us to read. I don't feel that a person should, when he says that a person shouts to the high heavens at any sort of verbal clumsiness. How do you trip and stumble out the N-word? I just feel like he's justifying things that shouldn't be justified, and I feel like he only made one people seem like the bad guy, and I feel like everything that he tried to set up doesn't lead to healthy dialogue.
Well, but he's also trying to say that victimizing an entire race isn't the right way to do it either. Right. And it's tough, right? From a standpoint, if you've never been victimized, I guess it's not tough. It's easy if you've never been victimized to go, yeah. Right. Now, there's all sorts of victims, whether it's race, creed, color, size, disability, whatever, right? So there's a lot of victims out there. But if you've never been victimized, you could read this book and go, yeah, what he's saying makes good sense, because he's not saying that white supremacy is good, but he's saying doesn't mean that everybody's a victim and every white person is bad either.
Yeah, but he literally said you're mentally ill if you try to dismantle white supremacy. You're not saying that white supremacy is bad, but like if I try to stop being called the
but is he saying that because is he saying that because you're it's like hitting your head against the wall? Why do you keep doing that, Phil? Because it feels good when I stop. So there was a comment in the green room, it's the engine. Right. So are you crazy for trying? Perhaps you are.
I'm with you, and I could see like it is an uphill battle as far as fighting racism, and I give him that. But to act like the notion that racism still exists is hogwash.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with we shouldn't listen to anyone who's had a racist experience, because I do feel it's able to continue as flexible as able to continue because people don't think it still happens. Which is case in point, the truck story with the manager of the roofing company. So I don't like how he's trying to discredit that whole concept, because no, like it needs to be said, because that's why more and more people who have become allies or who have been like, oh, I see certain things. It's because you would talk to a me, Zoe, JR, and be like, man, this is happening.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't just live in my bubble anymore. So how do you bash someone who's waking people up?
Right. And you know, in a week or two, we're going to have Dr. Joel Freeman and his co-author of BH 365.
Right.
And I think you know, here is a guy from Canada, right? A white guy from Canada who's like put this together, and his journey is amazing, right? And what they're doing, I think, is brilliant, right? And that book is a lot of CRT, right? Critical race theory, and how they're teaching it and how it should be taught. And Shana says, Dr. McWhorton is one of many African American academics that hold the same perspective, and there are a lot. There's no doubt,
right? But we've had this conversation that there could be, let's say, 5 popular of random people who we don't know, we've never met.
And 5, you're just saying 5. There could be 500,000 academics that feel this way.
Okay. What I'm saying is there's more people who I hear from that I know, that I talk to more consistently, who are saying this is how things are happening. And if I was going to ask about the white experience, it would have been like Pete, you, Scott, blah, blah. If I'm going to ask questions, I wouldn't say, well, some guy in Maryland. Like, no, talk to Kent. He's right here.
Yeah.
Talk to Dave. Talk to Kirk.
Right.
People who I know right here. And if you guys who I know are saying, nah, this is how things are in Crystal Lake, I don't need a guy in Maryland.
Yeah, and I don't like the word woke. That's just me. But what I have said and shared several times is growing up in Burlington, Iowa, in the 80s. It was a 60,000, and it was probably 60-40, 50-50. It was close. We had a Filipino guy in there, right? But it was African Americans and white, and the interesting thing is, as I through this show and through things, I've been able to broaden my scope of vision.
Right.
To go, oh my gosh.
Right.
The way that town was laid out.
Yeah.
Was like circle the wagons.
Right.
Right. And we didn't think of it. But now as I spread out, I go, oh, interesting. Right. And it's just those kind of things. And that's what we're hoping. Yeah. And that's why I love Sheena for recommending the book, because again, it cracks a different crack into the veneer to maybe let some light in on how other people think. Right. And we just wanted to come to you with kind of what we took from the book. Not that it's a bad book, it's the best-selling book.
Yeah. Right. So the point I was making with what I was saying though is, so we can have millions of people with one side. We can have a smaller portion, because there are some with the other side. And like I said earlier in the show, it appears that when I'm being told, none of these people are just as wise. None of these people make just as good points. None of these people speak as charismatic. Everybody who echoes white thought. That's where I'm not saying he made good points ish. Yep. But when I hear what gets applauded, what gets shared, what gets told, this is what you should be reading it's never anyone with this experience. Yeah. And I want you, again, watch. Yeah. Watch who's intelligent, watch who's so sharp, watch who Black should listen to. Candace gets it, why can't you? The doctor gets it, why can't you? But I don't hear those same people saying any type of compliment or idea for the thoughts, beliefs, experiences, anybody over here. I'm just waiting on that, is all I'm saying.
Right. And Shannon says it doesn't take away from your experience to hear another experience, right? At the end of the day, the concern is shared, but not the solve. Right. thanks for the discussion. And then she said, wait a minute, white thoughts. Yeah, it kind of goes back to what the book said is it's that feeling of belonging. So a lot of times the elect, right, will take themselves and say, okay, because I'm elect and pushing this, I didn't suffer, or
Well, the book was talking a lot about us and them,
right,
their thoughts. So going on the author's words, not Phil's,
right.
He said, them don't get, they don't get the share button. They do.
Yeah.
And all I'm saying is, why is it that anyone who echoes this side is intelligent and wise, and they get it? Why don't the rest of you? But no one over here has ever made a valid point. Is what it seems to be shown.
Hey, and the compliments are equally as few towards Candace. And thanks, guys. Got to run. Have a great weekend. We do too. We got to get out of here. It is that time. Thanks for tuning in to Bridging Civil Tension. Absolutely love you all. Come back next week as we're going to bridge some more stuff, and we'll be excited to do it. And thanks again. The book is called Woke Racism. Go out, read it. Give us your thoughts. It's well worth the read if you can get through it. Right. All right, come back right now. Success Journey Podcast is on www.216net. Like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're pushing for 1,000 subscribers.
Can I just one thing? So it doesn't take away from the experience to hear another. Yes, but if you're suggesting a book that says don't even hear them, you don't get that opportunity. It doesn't take away from your experience. You said it, to listen. We have to have an open mind and be willing to do so. Love you guys. Learn to sew, bridging civil tension. See you guys next week.